The LNG industry began 2020 in a challenging oversupply environment. The subsequent pandemic and oil price crash in early March rapidly accelerated events, propelling the LNG industry into a low demand and a low price environment. Unsurprisingly, LNG buyers immediately sought ways to reduce their obligations under long-term LNG sale agreements. Where contractually possible, buyers have been deferring or cancelling cargoes and triggering downward quantity tolerance entitlements, or DQTs, which allow the buyer to fall short of its take-or-pay commitments without actually incurring sanctions. However, there are, of course, limitations to these flexibilities, deferrals, cancellations, and DQTs for limited volumes, and DQTs usually have to be agreed in advance of the contract year, rather than just triggered on an ad hoc basis. The last resort for buyers is the issuance of a force majeure or FM notice. Many FM clauses expressly exclude market changes as a valid reason to claim FM. In many cases, a lockdown doesn't actually prevent unloading of LNG, further challenging these FM claims. So, how might the LNG SPAs of the future be tailored to deal with challenges such as the current pandemic? A buyer termination right for catastrophic events would be the most far-reaching tool for a buyer. But such a blunt instrument would likely be resisted for a number of reasons, including the long-term nature of the relationships that actually underpin these contracts, as well as the importance of certainty of revenue to support project financing. The more realistic outcome for LNG SPAs is likely to be less draconian and could well include some of the following. Firstly, increased DQT on volumes. This could just be an increased overall DQT percentage or an additional DQT percentage, allowing the buyer further flexibility for a set proportion of volumes if a defined catastrophic event occurs. Secondly, more robust cargo cancellation rights for buyers, subject to volume limits and charges. Thirdly, price review clauses could become more commonly triggered by a major change in market conditions rather than just after the passing of a prolonged period. Fourthly, increased flexibility on deliveries and enhanced provisions dealing with diversions and alternative arrangements required if a catastrophic event occurs. And lastly, FM clauses may well directly address pandemic scenarios and what does and does not constitute FM, perhaps with illustrative examples to avoid disputes as to when FM is triggered. Panning out from this, there is, however, a bigger picture. The continued growth in global population and global economic prosperity will keep driving energy demand, and with the less carbon-intensive nature of gas compared to oil, gas and therefore LNG is currently favoured as the transition fuel away from traditional hydrocarbons and is likely to benefit from energy demand growth. Our view is that the jolt experienced over the last few months shouldn't overshadow the likely growth of LNG's prominence in the energy transition story. Significant, but not seismic, adaptations have, and we're confident will be made, within the LNG sector to ensure its importance in the energy markets for decades to come. To learn more about other questions related to coronavirus, please visit the COVID-19 Resource Centre at bracewell.com. Thank you.